Insurance companies, this is from, I believe, the New York Times today. Insurance companies have offered incentives to people who install dongles. Do you know what a dongle is? That sounds like something that I don't want to be touching or be looking at. Lots of things come through my mind, and none of them are good. What is a dongle? It's a something here. What is a dongle used for? A dongle is a horn. No, I was kidding. I'm just kidding. It's an ancient horn. No, it's essentially a portable USB device that behaves like a small modem. You might hear it called other names like internet stick, USB modem, USB network, blah, 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 blah. It means the same thing. You just plug a dongle into your computer's USB port and you get instant internet access. No software necessary. Dongles. Insurance companies offer incentives to people who install dongles in their cars or download smartphone apps to monitor driving, including how much they drive, how fast they take corners, how hard they hit brakes, and whether or not they speed. But drivers are historically reluctant to participate in these programs, the New York Times says. As Ford Motor Company put it, Ford Motor says in a patent application describing what's happening instead, car companies are collecting information directly from internet-connected vehicles for use by the insurance industry. Are you okay with this? Are you okay with your car being monitored by an insurance company without your knowledge? Sometimes this is happening with drivers' awareness and consent. Car companies have established relationships with insurance companies. So that if drivers want to sign up for what's called usage-based insurance, where rates are set based on monitoring of their driving habits, it's easy to collect that data wirelessly from their cars. But in other instances, the Times says, something much sneakier has happened. Modern cars are internet-enabled, allowing access to services like navigation, roadside assistance, and car apps that drivers can connect to their vehicles to locate them or unlock them remotely. In recent years, automakers, here we go, here's where your alert goes out. In recent years, automakers, including GM, Honda, Kia, and Hyundai, have started offering optional features in their connected car apps that rate people's driving. Some drivers may not realize that. If they turn on these features, the car companies can then give information about how they drive to data brokers like LexisNexis. So are you okay with this? Are you okay with your car manufacturer putting software in your car that allows them to, and insurance companies to know how you're driving? Did you know about this? Are you comfortable with it? I'm not. Have you signed up for one of these insurance discount programs where they can see how you're driving? I got a big piece of news on that for you in a second. And does this make you want to get an older car? You think about EVs where they can lock you out of your car. Tesla did that to a man who refused to get a new battery because they never told him you have to save up for a battery here because you're going to have a $29,000 charge for a battery is what it was, I think he said, because he had like a Tesla that's worth over $100,000 or something of that nature. So I'll tell you what, this makes me want to keep my 2014 and my 2017. My 2014 performs better than my 2017 does. My 2014 with 124,000 miles or so on it performs better than my 2017 with like 97,000 miles on it. Because it's got the stupid shifter that's electronic and it sucks because it doesn't go when you punch it. It takes an extra second or two sometimes. And my 2014, when you push it, it freaking goes. They're both the same car. I don't think they might be the same engines, and it just freaking goes. I love it. I like the older car. Plus, it doesn't have all these expensive whistles and bells. You know, if you crash with these extra features on it, you know, my insurance, I've always wondered until I figured it out recently, the insurance on my 2017 is insane compared to the 2014. And it's because that 2017 has radar in the front grille. That crashes, you got to replace that for a couple grand at least, if not more. I mean, all sorts of stupid things that are costing a lot more money. And you know those where you go outside of the lines, it goes beep, beep, beep. I have one of those, and I finally just I convinced myself to turn it off. My wife couldn't stand it. She shuts it off when she drives it. Now, are you comfortable with car manufacturers putting software in your car that allows them and insurance companies to know how you're driving? Have you signed up for one of these insurance discount programs where they can see how you're driving? And does this make you want to get an older car? 800-288-WBAP is our number. Chime in right now. 800-288-9227. I was offered by my insurance company. It's a very high-quality one. It's one of the top ones, right? I was offered to get a discount on my insurance if all of us, we have 4 of us driving now, right? My daughter, my son, and my wife and I. And that I could get a discount of at least, I think, 10 or 11% against my auto premium or more, depending on how our driving is. If I download an app and it shows me each time you go and it says, hey, you were driving with your phone, you were talking this amount of time, try to do better next time, whatever. Do you think I did it? Do you think I signed up for it? Producer Garrett, take a guess. Would you sign up for it? No? I signed up for it. I did. And I'm not a hypocrite because I chose to do it. It wasn't foisted on me by the car I bought and didn't know they were doing it. If you choose to do it, that's your business. They don't monitor speeding on mine, and they don't hold it against you. You cannot lose any points or anything, or any price. You know, you can't. The price on your insurance can't go up. So, but I have an exactly 10 or 11% discount. My insurance on my car is insane, like all of ours is. You know that, right? It's like $2,700 for 6 months or something. It's insanity, I think. So if I can save 10% off, that's like, I think I can do like $280 or something. So I'm like, I need that. I could do that right now. So screw it. Doesn't bother me. But I chose. Have you done one? Do you do that? And are you comfortable with cars manufacturers putting these software programs that can follow how you drive and send it to insurance companies and sell it? At least I'm getting compensated for mine. You know what I mean? Yeah, I would not personally. I would think twice about getting a GM, a Honda, a Kia, or a Hyundai because they have it in there. They started offering this feature in their connected car apps that rate people's driving, and you may not realize that. So, yeah, no thank you. I'm telling you, what we're finding out is the older cars are better. They really are. On my 2014, I don't have that stupid button I have to push so that the engine won't shut off at the stoplight. By the way, if you have one of those, override it, which you can in every car. You know, there's a button. You have to press it every time you get into the car, but I override it. My mechanic says, yeah, it's great, and you save some money as long as you don't mind paying $700 every 2 to 3 years for a new starter. So I don't use it, and I get angry. I get angry. I get frustrated with my wife or kids if I'm like, hey, turn that thing off. We're driving the car at a stoplight. It stops. Hey, turn that off. Override it. All right, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. This is going to floor you. In the Dallas Morning News today, they say that Frisco, McKinney, and Plano have some of the largest gender pay gaps in the country. They say in Frisco, women earn 56% of the money men do, a wage report finds. So we're going to get into this and see if you actually believe this. And if you do believe it, why do you think it's happening? Oh, I can't wait for this. Coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. This is one of the most ridiculous things that I've seen today, and it's laughable to me because I don't believe it. I think it's a fraud. Frisco, this is from the Dallas Morning News today. They're fighting for justice for women. Frisco, McKinney, and Plano have some of the largest gender pay gaps in the country. Are these suburbs dens of discrimination? Are these villages of vengeance? Perhaps a town of what I can't read my handwriting. A town of trickery? Is that what's here? Are these the people running these cities and hiring in these cities nefarious ne'er-do-wells who take advantage of women? Get to work, woman! Get to work, wenches! No break! No break for the wenches! Do you believe this? Do you believe that Frisco, McKinney, and Plano have some of the largest pay gaps in the country, that somehow there's injustice going on there? Ooh, it's hyper-local. Now we can we get the street? Can we get the streets where this is happening? I want the block. We can target them. We can show up with our pink vagina hats and rally against them. Against injustice. Women in Frisco, Plano, and McKinney. The chamberofcommerce.org, some product research company who wants to get publicized, in the news for making up stories that I don't believe. 170. They looked at the 170 most populated U.S. cities. Frisco, they allege 56% of the money. Women earn 56% of what men do. Wow, it's a den of discrimination there, isn't it? Oh, it's a town of tumult. I'm trying to come up with all this alliteration on the fly. I'm trying. The largest gap is Frisco. 56% of women earn 56% of men, they claim. Pay disparity stands at $52,000, nearly 5 times the national average. Today was a woke stupid day called Equal Pay Day. The gap between working men and women across the country is $11,000 roughly. Women earning full-time salaries in Texas had 83% of the median take-home pay weekly. A researcher at Women in Public Policy said the 2 largest drivers of pay gaps are, this is so stupid, these terms these idiots come up with, and they get paid lots of money to come up with stupid fake terms. Occupational segregation. Occupational segregation. Oh, okay. Yeah, wow. Right? Yeah, that's
What
wow.
the hell are you thinking?
Yeah, okay, thank you. They also say that the other 2 largest drivers of pay gaps are occupational segregation and similar work. Women are doing similar work and are having comparable education levels, but yet in the same industries but not getting the same pay. I want to ask you a few questions on this before I continue on. Do you believe Frisco, McKinney, and Plano have some of the largest gender pay gaps in the country? Do you believe that somehow those 3 major suburbs of DFW all cloistered together, their borders touching, at least Frisco touches McKinney and Plano? Do you think that? So, do you believe that Frisco, McKinney, and Plano have some of the largest gender pay gaps in the country? Do you believe this? And do you think that do you think that's a choice that women are making instead of being discriminated against? Do you think that it's a choice that women are making through their career and child rearing decisions, that perhaps they have more traditional values? Is that possible? Is it possible that, and I don't know the political breakdown of Frisco, McKinney, and Plano, but is it possible there's more Republicans there than Democrats? Is it possible there's more traditional values in these communities, which mean, God forbid, a woman chooses to stay home in the years with their child, to raise their child between the ages of, 0 and 15 or something, or 0 and 20. I don't know. Is it possible that's happening? Is it possible that's what it's all about? I think it is. And what would you like to do about this alleged gender pay gap? It's so funny that they're literally mentioning suburbs, saying they're the worst. That's just obscene. Stupid. Our number is 800-288-WBAP. That's 800-288-9227. One of these so-called researchers or experts says it's not a coincidence that jobs tend to be female-dominated are also systematically lower paid than occupations that tend to be male-dominated. Oh, my gosh. You're such a victim. It reflects a broader societal devaluation of women and women's work. BS. BS. Is it possible that, because what blew me away way back when they were trying to they've been trying to blow this crap up your butt for 30 years, 25 years or more. I was in Minneapolis, St. Paul. By the way, number 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. I was in Minneapolis, St. Paul about 3-4 jobs ago. And remember, I've been here for 14 years, so that's been a long time. It was like 22, 23 years ago or something. Anyways, I was living there, and I read a story in the Star Tribune, Minneapolis Star Tribune lifestyle section that talked about, is it true that women make less than men? And it literally, the research said the opposite. It said women choose to take a leave from work in their formidable, in the years when their careers tend to climb, men and women. They pull out and they go home to be with their kids and raise them because it's their choice, not because anybody's making them. These people here literally despise women who choose to do that. You know that? They're angry at you. They think you should be working. Abort your baby so that you can work and make more money and obey your corporate masters. That's what they think. And they think if you don't do that, you're being brainwashed and something's wrong with you and you're being held against your will and forced to do this. If they think there's something wrong with traditional values. You should ditch your kid at daycare and school, go to work full time, and then hope that your child doesn't grow up like we talked about in the last hour to be beating somebody's head against the concrete with rage. Have the state raise your child. Don't stay at home and parent your child even though you feel that's what you're led to do and that's how you should do it. So do you believe in these alleged gender pay gaps? Do you think it's instead a choice that women are making through their career and child-rearing decisions? And what do you think we should do about this? I think nothing. I think laugh at this. This is stupid. I don't believe it. And by the way, how about the fact that many women choose to be in careers that do pay less because they want to be in these careers? Social workers, teachers, counselors. Is it possible they tend to be in careers that don't pay as much, not because they're women, because that's just the career they chose, because they want to serve, because they want to nurture, because the way God made them? And the way they feel in their heart about, no, I can't let somebody else raise my kid. I'm going to raise my kid. And we'll figure it out, hon. We're going to figure it out together, you and your spouse or vice versa. And we'll make a compromise here, and we'll lose some money, but we're going to raise these kids right. I think that's what it is. This is so stupid. These people waste more money and put more prestige on things and try to pick these stupid titles on them that make no sense. They're BS, and all to justify some stupid leftist movement. That's what that is. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I'll tell you a little bit more about this coming up next. Plus, you have to hear this. Grocery prices now versus when Joe Biden took office. Biden is deflecting, saying they're lower today than last year, but he's totally ignoring that they're way higher since the day he took office. And Dallas Morning News marvels about this. Why do so many Americans think their economy is bad when data says otherwise? Oh, that's funny. We'll talk about that next. Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make that a preset, y'all. Indeed. Well, this is some fascinating inflation news. By the way, we have Karine Jean-Pierre, the useful idiot for Joe Biden, saying grocery prices are fantastic.
Inflation is down 2/3, and we have the lowest annual core inflation since May 2021. Prices fell over the last year for gas, milk, eggs, chicken, appliances, and also used cars. Wages are rising faster than prices over the last year since the pandemic, and forecasts broadly expect progress on inflation to continue over the rest of the year.
It's going so great, isn't it? Until you see what happened today. You know what came out today? Inflation picked up. It went higher. Bidenomics is working. Inflation went up to 3.2% in February. Slightly hotter than expected. Well, Joe, you're doing it. Inflation's going up. Making us pay more. Making us work more. Maybe take on a second or third job to pay the bills that we used to be able to do on one job before. Thank you, Joe Biden. We love you. You are succeeding, or maybe not, if you hear from Trump's former economic chief in his administration.
But the president is tapping into at least a perception that wealthy people have far more of an advantage, and that corporations are taking advantage of the little guy. I mean, he went down to the 10% fewer Snickers in the bag analogy in his speech, basically saying you're getting ripped off. So what do you make of that idea, though, and the explanation he's trying to make for why people are experiencing inflation, even though the rate is coming down?
Well, let's talk about inflation for a minute, because I think it's a really important concept for everyone to understand. Inflation has a compounding effect, meaning as you look at inflation year over year, you're adding up those numbers. You're not starting at a zero every year. So if we had 6% inflation last year, 7% inflation, and now we have 4% inflation, that's 10% inflation. So if you take a basket of groceries at the beginning of 2020, just a simple basic basket that cost $100, it costs well over $125 today, because those 4% one year and 7% one year and 7% the next year, they add up. They're cumulative. So there's a huge cumulative effect inflation.
So when people are being told, consumers, you're wrong, inflation's no, they're right.
They're completely right. They're completely right. And what they're more right about is we at least finally have gotten to the position where wage growth is faster than inflation. But we had not been there until the last few months. So people were losing purchasing power, and that's why people were angry. And then take on top of that the high interest rate environment, where if you thought you might have been in a position to buy a house because you save money, you go out to get a mortgage at 7 or 8%, you can't afford a house. So people got very frustrated because the cost of their everyday lives got very expensive, and the cost of investing in their future by buying a home got nearly impossible.
You know, I think Joe Biden's mad at us. He's mad at us people that won't stop saying how bad things are. He's like, I've been telling you they're good. Stop being mad at me. You're wrong. I've made things better. And you know it. You're just not admitting it. Stop being feisty and obstreperous. And just go along with what I'm telling you. I'm telling you it's better, Joe says. He talked about housing. This came out today from The Guardian, and this is very sad. American dream of owning a home is dead, majority of renters say. A brand new Harris poll from people surveyed that are renting, and it is not good. The vast majority say they want to own a home in the future, but 61% say they're worried they will never be able to. And a similar percentage of 61% believe that no matter how hard they work, they will never be able to afford a home. It's sad where we're at. So, and then the Fed was projecting that they would have they would meet their 2% target of inflation. Didn't happen. In fact, it's higher and higher. Consumer prices rose 4.4%, a half a point from last month. And get ready for this to make sure you understand this. Last year, when it was higher inflation, well, right now you can add 3.2% on top of last year's high inflation. Do you understand that? Like he talked about, it's cumulative. We're getting screwed harder every month and every year by this president. We are now paying 3.2% more than we did last year. All Joe Biden's done is hurt us and destroy us more every month and every year. And then he polishes the turd and says, look what I've done. It's awesome. We're doing this. It's Bidenomics. It's working. Meantime, the Vanguard Group, which is a huge 401k group, as we all know, they say that overall 3.6% of its plan participants rated their 401k last year. Now, 3.6% might not sound a lot to you, but last year it was 2.8. So it's gone from 2.8% to 3.6%, almost a whole extra percentage a year later. Of people rating their 401k, it has gone up almost a full point. It is not going down. People are rating their retirement to stay afloat right now, and it's growing from last year. It is not getting better, and they wonder why we're mad, and they wonder why we are when they poll us, we tell us how much of a disaster we feel that Joe Biden is. Well, look at this. Now comes the Dallas Morning News to say, what's wrong with you guys? But actually, before I share that, I want to ask you these questions and have you chime in right now. It'd be great to take your call now. Are you noticing any improvements in prices at the grocery store? Are you noticing gas prices being lower? And do you think the economy is bad right now? If so, why? And also, I want you to throw in the highest and lowest prices for gas you're seeing lately. They are going up, by the way. And they're going to go higher and higher now because of the season we're going into. So gas prices are up. I have a little bit for you on that in a second. It ain't no good. Actually, I have it right here on the gas prices. Our number is 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Now, Americans are paying more at the pump. Average national gas price right now rose to $3.39 for the week, ending March 7th, an increase. In 1 week, it increased 8 cents per gallon. The national average gas price this week is 25 cents more. We are paying 25 cents more for a gallon of gas today than we did a year ago. 25 cents more. and only 2 cents less than they were. I'm sorry, 2 cents less than a year ago. Forgive me. It's 25 cents more this week than prices were a month ago. That's it. So we have had a 25-cent increase in a month, and we have a 8-cent increase from last week. It's 2 cents less than the average was a year ago. Nothing's going anywhere. None of it's good, and you know it, and I know it. And this man gaslights us and blows smoke up our room telling you it's great. It's not. You know it, and I know it. That is why, and the Dallas Morning News is so disappointed in us. They're not happy with us because we're not going along with their guy. The Marquette Law School poll that just came in from February shows that 65% of Americans say it was not good. The economy is not good or poor. 65%. Literally almost exactly 2/3 of all people in this country say the economy is not good or poor. And Joe Biden tells us this is great. KJP says things are going great today. The DMN saying Americans want these prices to be back where they were before the pandemic. Listen to this. Food prices today are up 20% from when Joe Biden took office. We're paying 20% more. I told you that my budget used to be $500 for 2 weeks for my family. I told you it's up to $800 now. What's 20% times 500? That's 100, right? 2 times 5 is 100. Well, $100, but I'm feeling it as $800, and that's why we have to budget it now. And then gasoline prices are 30% higher right now. Gas is 30% higher than when Joe took office. Our food is 20% more than when Joe Biden took office. Our gas is 30% more. They're lying SOBs. They're destroying us. Roy in Dallas, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hello, sir.
Hi, good evening, Chris. Thank you for covering this topic.
Thank you.
Especially with the press secretary. I call her Corrine Jane because she whitewashes everything with the propaganda lies that she does in regards to this topic. And I recently went into the store. I see grocery prices, poultry, dairy, and shelf prices, including canned goods and fresh produce, significantly increase. Today, I price a dozen eggs. Eggs are up to $2.66 a dozen. I shop stores like Winco Foods and Aldi, and I cover the grocery store ads that come out weekly in the mail. There are no bargains. The grocers, they have to cover their costs.
Yeah, they can't. They can't do more. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And remember, Joe Biden beat them up. Remember that? He beat them up. Grocery prices, they're gouging. And now he beats up the snack industry. All he does is attack the people who for his own responsibilities. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. And Chris, further, is this coming from the Secretary of Commerce, or who's out there doing the actual shelf price, checking the shelf prices for these stores? I doubt if they are. I think they're sitting on their lazy asses. And I'm not one of those illegal aliens that come across the border and through NGOs in the United Nations get $10,000 every 6 months, just to be here. I'm not. I've worked most of my life. I saved most of my life like everybody else.
But now you're paying for the free tuition. You're paying for tuition for students that can afford to pay for it on their own. You're paying for the illegal immigrants invading this country and flying them in all over the country. It's just a real sick. I pray for this country, because if we vote for this guy again, I mean, as a country, it just shows how far gone and stupid and clueless we are.
True. And, the other thing, too, Chris, is that in the mail, I get weekly mail. Feeding America, the North Texas Food Bank.
Yes.
And
a great outfit, yes.
Yes, sir. And, if things are so great with his sense of economics, which are the very worst, building America back better is taking America down the drain.
It is. I appreciate your great call tonight, Roy. Thank you. I want to hear from you now, too. Are you noticing improvements in prices at the grocery store? Are you noticing gas prices being lower? What are the highest and lowest gas prices you're seeing right now? And do you think this economy is bad right now? And if so, why? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I'm going to give you specifics on bread, butter, and chicken, the costs, and a few other things that are just shocking. And when we realize it, we're even more angry. It's harder to take when you see it, the numbers in print from when Joe took office to now. It's angering. It's angering, to say the least. And then also, I wanted to follow up from a gentleman who called last night around this time, who's a home builder and seller. I want to comment on that a little bit more, too, because I didn't have as much time to breathe in my response last night. So I'll have a little more time to respond coming up next as well. Our number, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227, on News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make that a preset, y'all. Okay, Joe Biden came out and said, my top economic priority is lowering costs. Today's report on inflation shows we continue to make progress on that front. Inflation is down 2/3 from its peak, and annual core is at its lowest since May 22. That's Joe Biden peeing on your back saying it's raining. Now, he said he closed off this quotation on Fox Business today. Says Biden said prices for key household purchases like gas, milk, and appliances are lower than a year ago. Yeah, Joe. Literally, he's telling us that gas, milk, and eggs are lower. Appliances? He says inflation's down while unemployment has remained below 4, the longest stretch in more than 50 years. But what Fox Business says, what Joe is not telling us, is the common grocery items prices are above what they were January 2021 when he took office. A stick of butter today, this is where the rubber slaps on the road and screams. A stick of butter today costs $1 more per pound than when Biden took office. In January, butter costs, January 2021, butter was $3.64 a pound. Now it's $4.63 a pound. Increase 27%. Thank you, Joe. That's low, huh? Boneless chicken breast has increased by 26% from $3.26 a pound when he took office to $4.11 a pound right now. Thank you, Joe. White bread per pound is 30% more expensive, up $2.01 per pound in February versus $1.55 in January 2021. Thanks, Joe. White sugar increased per pound from 68 cents to 98 cents, a 44% increase. So what do you say? Is Joe accurate then when he says, quote, my top economic priority is lowering costs, and today's report shows we continue to make progress on that front? No, it shows inflation rose 3.2% from a year ago. You liar. He says gas, milk, and eggs and appliances are lower than a year ago. No, they're not. They didn't go down to what they were below a year ago. They went up. He literally thinks you're stupid. He thinks he could pee on your back and tell you it's raining. He thinks, this man, I don't know, are we stupid or is he stupid? I think he's the stupid one. Now, we had a listener who called in last night, and I really do appreciate him and such. He is a home builder, and he was talking about home prices being so high, and he said, it's capitalism, which I do agree with that, capitalism to the umpteenth degree. But he says, I sell my house for the most I can get, and they're real high, and I still get my money. And first of all, I'm sure we agree on one thing, because we didn't have time for this last night before the hour ended. That Texas is not Texas. Forget Texas. I'm saying DFW is not in a bubble. We finally have caught up to and are catching up to a little bit more, which we don't like it, but with housing prices, that should be where a major city in the United States is at. We were the lowest in the country for a long time. That's why we're not in a bubble. We still are not in a bubble, okay? Where I disagree is you price as high as you want, as if that's going to sell it. If you overprice your home to comparable housing in the Metroplex or in comparable areas, you're not going to sell it. If you overprice your home by $300,000 or $500,000, that's your business. And if you sell it, that's good for you if you have somebody that would buy it. But the idea that you can just jack it to any price you want is not true in any way, shape, or form in my way. And I'm not vilifying people for getting the maximum profit. You should do it. All right. Excuse me. Did you hear what Madonna did? Do I have time for one more thing? What do I got? A minute left or what? 30 seconds. Madonna called out a concert goer in the middle of her concert the other day. Did you hear about this? She said, why aren't you standing up? Everybody else is standing up. Stand up. Wait till you find out what happened.
Why are you doing sitting down? Oh, okay. Politically incorrect. Sorry about that. I'm glad you're here.
That was in the middle of her concert. This woman, this 64-year-old grandma wearing stripper-type clothes, looking like she's in a nursing home with a walker, in fishnets, thinking she's hot from 30 years ago still or something. She saw somebody sitting down while everybody was standing, and she called her out and picked on her from the stage. Turns out she's a wheelchair-bound woman. She can't stand up. It'd be like her yelling at Governor Abbott, stand up. Kanye did the same thing. Yeah. Dude, it might bother you. Like, I've done things. I've told you I've spoken at places with 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 people. I've spoken at crowds of 200, 500. And in my mind, when I see that, I'm irked by it. I'm annoyed by it, but I don't say anything because you look bad. Even if that person isn't handicapped, you look bad calling somebody out in the audience. I wouldn't do it. I'd be PO'd, but I wouldn't say anything because I'm not stupid. She's filled with pride. That's who she is, and it is what it is.